This video is for you if you have the feeling that you're going through another spiritual awakening. Right now, there are a lot of people all around the world who are having a second awakening, who are going through this same shift of consciousness, this same sometimes painful transformation all over again. And you might be wondering, why? Given the fact that you've already done a lot of healing, a lot of inner work, I would imagine by this time you've experienced a lot of life changes. You've already dealt with the uncertainty. You dealt with the ego deaths, the losing yourself, the not knowing which way is up, not knowing who you are, not knowing which direction your life is going to take, and you find yourself in that exact same spot yet again. Well, you're not alone, my friend. This is something that's going around. And this video right here is going to share with you the 5 most common signs that you're having this other awakening experience. Number 1, you lose your sense of destiny. You may have discovered you have an awareness of being on track, being aligned. Sometimes a situation or a relationship or even an idea, something you want to pursue, a dream, a vision. It can either feel like, you know what, that's not really me. You can feel it in your body, in your gut, or it can feel aligned. But during this period, you might feel unaligned with everything. Like you genuinely don't have that sensing of anything being in alignment. And this can create the feeling and the experience of being where you feel like you're cut off from the divine support you become accustomed to experiencing. The guidance, the synchronicity, just again, that sense of being, this feels right. When nothing feels right, and a lot of things that used to feel right in your life no longer do, it's a very unique type of misery. I'll say you really do feel lost. Not just like your mind doesn't know what to do next. That's like we can all become uncertain in our brain if we allow our mind to kind of, uh, become worrisome and things like that. But this is different. This is like a deeper awareness that you genuinely have no freaking clue about what's happening with your life and where it's heading. And this is what St. John of the Cross talks about this. He has a whole book about it called The Dark Night of the Soul. And one of the main signs you're going through the dark night of the soul is exactly what I just described. It's I think he puts it in the term of spiritual aridity. If you imagine having like no water, like you're in this spiritual wasteland desert, and you're just your body is just yearning for sustenance that it's not getting. And you can only go a little while without water. You can go even less time without oxygen. And there is something that your spirit can feel when it's not connected to its source. And it's a unique type of unrest that's very, very uncomfortable. That is difficult to put into words, but hopefully by what I said, you have at least an idea of what I'm trying to convey here. But alas, there is hope. In fact, going back to that book, St. John of the Cross, he says the brighter the divine light, the more it darkens the soul. So it's like the more cut off you feel, the more present God actually is. Number 2, you're experiencing a new depth of the unknown. Now, you may have been in more precarious life circumstances before, but in this case, it feels more scary. Like, for example, I've gone through this multiple times within like my life and my business, but the most uncertain I've ever felt probably was when I was virtually homeless, living in a travel trailer, paying all my bills in, going into credit card debt on blind faith. Like that was like, that was like a level of uncertainty in my life circumstance anyways, that I have not experienced since then. But I've had periods, as my spiritual awakening has sort of progressed, I've had periods of what felt even more scary, even though on paper things aren't always that scary. So you might just be experiencing this as well. And you can try your best. You may have tried. You can try your best to kind of like talk yourself into feeling better about the circumstance, about the fact that you don't know what's to come. You don't know what's going to play out. You don't know where you're going. You don't even know like who you are sometimes. You can't really find resolve in the brain, in your mind. Thinking, oh, you know what, it was worse before, Vic. You know, you have no need to worry. You can do that and it'll produce a very fleeting sense of escape from the sheer fact that you really have no clue where your life is heading. And it's very, very difficult. It's very difficult. And for me, I've experienced this to like deeper and deeper degrees, and it's something that never really becomes easy. This facing the unknown, it always produces just worry, anxiety. You know, sometimes we'll go into like we'll become desperate and try to control things. Like I'll sometimes be guilty of going on like ChatGPT and here's my situation. What do you think? And it'll talk me off the ledge. It'll say, whoa, 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 Vic, cool off, buddy. Here are the facts. Here's what I recommend. And that solace I feel from the AI never really does anything lasting, as you may have done yourself. Nonetheless, this is the price we pay. This is the requirement. If we want to step into more of ourselves, if we want to expand our life, if we want to really reach new horizons, then it's not going to come from the familiar. It requires the unknown. It can only happen in the unknown. Now, most of us aren't going to willingly put ourselves in the unknown. That's why it does seem like our awakening has like a will of its own, and we will just find ourselves in the unknown. And number 3, I just wrote down under pressure. And what I mean by that is more like, and there's an internal pressure. And you might find is kind of a combination of resistance to the unknown, just being uncomfortable with the unknown, trying to control the uncontrollable essentially, and working yourself up as a result. Oftentimes this is combined with deeper pockets of unconsciousness that are kind of being cleansed from your system at the same time. So the combination of, without really choice, but just finding yourself confronting past wounds, trauma, this uncomfortable, unexpressed energy from your past, whether you even know where it's coming from or not, combined with just being constantly always in the unknown, and your mind just being kind of like, again, anxious about it. The combination of this can create a ridiculous amount of pressure. And I found myself sometimes just wondering if I can handle it, like thinking like I can't handle this much more. It's a very, very, these growth spurts, these spiritual cleanses and growth, these upgrades, whatever you want to call them, they really are very, very difficult to contend with. So my point is, I say this just to say, like, you're not alone if you feel that as well. And you might find that it doesn't matter like how many books you've read, you know, what you've done and what you've overcome, and your awakening has a way of bringing you to your knees time and time again. And it's very common to really like beat up on yourself about it. In fact, this happened to me a little while ago where I found myself just like feeling this incredible pressure, just like desperately wanting it to release and just not knowing how. And I found myself just in the middle of the day, just sitting on my bedroom floor, just kind of sitting like this, just very like forlorn, and just feeling like, I don't know what to do. And my wife kind of came in slowly. She could tell like something was odd because I was just sitting there on the floor, and she kind of came down and sat by me, and I just started crying. And I said, I just feel so lost. I don't even know why. I just feel so lost and so hopeless, and I just don't know what to do with myself. And this is after going through these cycles like for like 15, 20 years of my life. It can always do this to me, I found. Anytime I think I've gotten the hang of it, I realize that there's always more to excavate, more to release, more There are layers of faith, layers of trust, and every time we like are going into a new layer, it sometimes requires this period. And the fourth thing will definitely set you apart from people who are just having a really tough time in their life, and that is you might find that you're gleaning spiritual lessons from the challenges, the circumstances, the unknown. You might be realizing that what you really need is not understanding and certainty and foresight. It's patience, or it's trust, or faith. I remember back in 2016 when I found myself going through this and faced with the challenge to let go of my career. That was like my intuitive awareness to let go of the thing that was earning me money to support my family. I knew in my soul I needed to let it go in order to move on to the next phase, even though I didn't know what the next phase was. And I remember during this time of just lots of resistance and trying to like figure out a way to hang on to the job and still pursue the purpose. And I remember like just for me, like I realized this boiled down to actually having faith. Faith is one of those words that people like to throw around a lot. But here life was backing me into this corner where that was my only option. I was given an opportunity to know what it is to truly walk the path of faith. It was very, very difficult. But having done that and seeing kind of how it all played out in a favorable way, which it always does when you follow your inner guidance, it allowed me to have faith in the process more easily going forward for the rest of my life. It's something I can draw on. It's like it does something to you. These challenges, they wire in these virtues like faith, patience, compassion, forgiveness, understanding. These are just words. You can read about them, you can understand them, you can appreciate them. But during the course of your awakening, especially during these times of transformation, you might find that you're able to really wire them in and really ground them in to a deeper degree. And you might find that this is kind of happening naturally. You know, the awakening journey tends to put you in a spot where like you have nothing left. There's no certainty coming from the outside. Sometimes your divine guidance is nowhere to even be found, and you have nothing left but to like rest upon faith, hope, patience, courage, whatever, fill in the blank for you, discipline, whatever it is. And great, because how much better of a person will you be when you are able to really be more patient? When you're able to really be courageous? There might be things in your life right now you have not done because you lack the courage. And life will give you a chance to really like cultivate that courage. This fifth one's going to sound a little bit weird, but I'll explain it. Expanding beyond old identities. A lot of times, everything I just described up until now is like a perfect storm to bring up to the surface these outdated modes of operation, these streams of thinking, these identities, these parts of yourself that you falsely identified with, and you'll have an opportunity to kind of like wake up to them and to see them. And that's all it takes. It just takes seeing, this is not me. And then it can't live. It lives in the dark. It only survives in the unconscious. But once it becomes conscious, you at that moment become free. This happened to me not too long ago, where I found myself going through a lot of this. And I found myself really like wanting answers, wanting help, thinking if I prayed really, really hard, I would get them. And I tried like all day, like praying and just like really meditating, going into as deep as I could into myself. I did breath work and I was like, I need answers. Give me something, please help me, guide me. And then what I received after all that earnest effort, it wasn't even the slightest hint of guidance. And I know why. Because what happened was I realized how desperate I was acting. I realized, like, I don't need to be like this. I'm not this disempowered. When did I allow myself to be overtaken by this worrisome part of myself to the point where I'm on my knees begging the universe for answers? It was like I saw it. I saw it for the first time, and in seeing it, I knew this is not who I am. I don't need to do this. I'm stronger than this. I'm better than this. You might find that. You might find that you eventually start to question some of your reactive patterns that inevitably, like no one's above it, inevitably will be triggered by feeling cut off from spirit, being in a new depth of uncertainty, having all these painful energies from the past coming up. It's going to put you in this sort of spot where you become susceptible to being taken over by aspects of your lower consciousness. But all of this is so you can finally see it. And the beauty is in the results of all this. This all sounds like one bad thing after the other. And when you're in it, me included, it seems that way. It's difficult to really know. It's difficult to really think positively when this is all happening to you. But if you just think about it and if you look back to your own experience, what happens? Eventually, something happens in your life that is unexpected and amazing. Even I heard Sadhguru say the other day on a podcast, he said, like, someone asked him, and they said, what do most people waste their time doing? Or I think they said, what do most people waste their time thinking about? And he thought for a second, he said, thinking. And the guy was like, what do you mean? Care to explain? He said, yes, thinking is a waste of time for the most part. And he said, in India, we don't really put much value on thoughts because we know that thoughts are completely limited to the data you already have. And how silly is it for us to think that we know everything? We can see all the possible outcomes from this little limited, little itty bitty peephole that we call our perspective. It's like ridiculous. There's infinite possibilities in every single moment. You don't have to believe in anything spiritual to just know that. It's common sense. So the point is that the result of this not knowing, it's good. Because if we had our way and we were able to say, you know what, I just want this to happen. I want my life to go this way. It's going to be limited. If we can just sort of endure these experiences, something else unexpected always happens. And it's always like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? How brilliant, how genius, the timing, amazing. That's one of the results. Another one is, again, you get to deepen these spiritual virtues where you become actually a more courageous, patient, faithful, trusting person, or whatever your theme happens to be. You get to really master this thing that will help you not only during this sort of dark night period, but in many, many other future circumstances as well. And the best part of it is you get to wake up. You get to wake up from the role, the limited, wounded role that you have been operating at. You expand beyond that. So not only do you have these awesome virtues, these very helpful virtues in the real world, being able to be patient and trusting and all that stuff, it has real world value. Having that, having this manifestation of something beyond what you thought possible, but also being able to meet all of these things with a new, a grander, greater, more expanded, more accurate sense of self. That is the result of all this madness. That is the result of all this chaos. That is the result of enduring these painful lows, these contraction periods of your awakening. You're not doing this pointlessly. This is something you've chosen to do because you know it's going to benefit you. It's got a worthwhile benefit. Otherwise, what are we doing here? And I just shared this video to kind of put it out there that you're not alone. This is something people are experiencing. But don't forget, you know all this already. You know where this is all heading. Remember that. And by the way, my friend, if you find yourself going through a period of change and transformation and you know you need some support, my wife Pattie and I are opening up a very small group coaching container coming up at the end of the month here. I'll leave a link down below if you want to check it out and see if it's a fit for you. And with that said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. God bless.